Greetings, this is Charles McCall again with Mentoring Growing Leaders, and we're on the final short lesson of our short mini-series on leadership is making others great. And so I want to remind you, the premise is, as you and I, as senior leaders, mid-level leaders, as we reach down and we lift up and empower those that are working with us, our team, those who are working beside us, those who are working below us, our volunteers, our staff, as we invest in them and as we lift them up, we're going to be lifted up as well. So if you want to be a great leader, invest in others and make others great. So leadership is making others great. I want to talk to you in this final lesson about attitudes, and particularly about humility and negativity, about being humble and don't blame others. Someone said it, and it may have been John Maxwell probably, is that our attitude determines our altitude. As a senior leader, as any leader at any of the 5 levels, our attitude is so important for us. Have you ever worked for someone that had a lousy attitude? They were negative, they were critical, they were nitpicky, they were hopeless, they didn't have a positive attitude. I worked with people that did not have a positive attitude but had a very negative attitude. I've worked with bosses, employers, supervisors, directors that thought very lowly of their staff and volunteers, thought that they were incompetent, thought they didn't have any potential, and that affects the whole atmosphere. It's another important lesson for us, of creating a positive atmosphere. I've covered that in one of the previous lessons. Creating a positive atmosphere in the work environment. And so our attitude toward life, and in particular toward our team, is our choice. We choose our attitude. I'm a big proponent of understanding various personality types and the strengths and the weaknesses of our personalities. And there are some personalities that lend themselves to being positive and hopeful, and there are other personalities that lend themselves to be negative and critical. But you and I can choose what kind of attitude we're going to have about life, we're going to have about difficulties, and especially we're going to have about our work environment, our staff, our volunteers, and the team that is going to achieve success with us. So we can choose to be either positive or we can choose to be either negative. I want to share with you just 4 choices, or compare different attitudes that we can have toward others and toward our team. 1, we can give life to our team by our words. By speaking words of appreciation, speaking words of hope, speaking words of affirmation, we can give life, we can breathe life into them, which also creates energy, which creates hopefulness, which creates productivity. Or we can speak death into them by belittling them, by not praising them, by not giving them the affirmation that they need. And so our words bring life and our words bring death to our life, our circumstances, and our team. And so I really admonish you as a leader at whatever level you're at, be careful about your words and speak life to your team. We can believe in them and give them the benefit of the doubt, or we can not believe in them and judge their motives. We can believe in them. We can believe that, in essence, I believe my staff, my team, has good heart and they have good intentions and they really want to support the vision of this organization. Or I can believe and be suspicious that they're subversive, it's only a job for them, they don't really care, they're a brown noser, they're just trying to out for their own benefit. You see, it's 2 different attitudes. And whatever attitude we choose about who they are, that's going to manifest itself in the environment. It's going to manifest itself in their loyalty or their disloyalty. So we can believe and we can give them the benefit of the doubt, or we can not believe and we can judge their motives. Thirdly, we can believe the best for them, or we can believe the worst for them. We can believe that, we can tell them, it's important for us to tell them, I believe in you. You know what? You are a valuable member on this team and you have so much to contribute. And so I believe that you have the potential. I believe that there's more in you, and I want to do what I can to try to be a miner and dig that gold out so that you can rise to a new level, and so that the team and the organization can rise to a new level. Or we can believe the worst in them. You know, I've worked with this person so many times, they just don't have the potential, they fail, that. That's our choice. And we receive the result of our choice, of our attitude, what we believe about those that work with us. We believe they can do it, or we believe they can't do it. We can believe, look, I know some way, somehow, together as a team, and I believe that you can do it. I believe that you can do it. Yes, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be a challenge to you, but I believe that you can do it. Or we can take the opposite view. No, I don't believe that they can do it. They just don't have what it takes. They don't have the perseverance. They don't have the stamina. They don't have the talent. Often we receive the result of our choices. And so I want to encourage you to be humble and don't blame others. Be humble and don't blame others. When things go wrong, weak leaders blame others. Weak leaders don't take responsibility, but they blame others. It's their fault. I'm going to share with you briefly 6 thoughts on humility and lifting up your team. 6 thoughts on humility and lifting up your team. Then I'm looking at a PowerPoint presentation here, and if you want my PowerPoint notes, you can email me at growingleaders75@gmail.com. Number 1, 6 thoughts about humility and lifting up your team. It takes 2 to tango. It's a saying, it's a cliche. Tango is a dance, but it takes 2. You can dance by yourself, but with this dance, you need 2 people. And so what that means, going on to point number 2, we'll just say, examine your own part and what went wrong. It takes 2 to tango, number 1. Number 2, examine your own part when things go wrong. This has been my experience, and I've tried to do this as just an automatic, is not blame the other person initially, but I go back to myself. Maybe I have contributed, or I failed to contribute something to bring this to a success, or to allow this problem to occur. Maybe there was poor communication on my part. I've experienced that many times, that I just simply have not communicated as clearly as I thought that I had communicated. Well, whose fault is that? Well, we could say it's their fault for not asking, or we could say it's my fault for not attempting to be clear, my fault for not asking if they understand. It could be poor timing, or it could be poor planning. And so that comes back to me. So I want to encourage you, it takes 2 to tango. And so you can't just blame your staff or your volunteer or your team member because they failed or because something went wrong. Number 2, you need to go back and you need to examine your part. Have you done something or failed to do something that has contributed in some way to this problem? Number 3, give your staff and your helpers an opportunity to fail, but then show them how not to fail again. Look, everybody's going to fail. Have you failed? Everybody lift your hand if you failed. We've all failed multiple times. And so, you know, I'm a perfectionist and I like things to go well. I like things to go perfect. I work hard at that, but I've failed many times. I've tried to be patient, that when my team members fail, try to bite my lip, watch my words, watch my facial expressions, watch the tone of my voice, and try to encourage them, okay, it's not the end of the world, okay? It's not the worst thing that could happen. And so this is what we need to do. It's a 2-part process. One is identifying that there has been a failure, allowing them to fail. And you know what? I've communicated this to my staff. I've communicated this to my volunteers. You know what? I'm not encouraging you to fail, but I want to tell you, if you make a mistake, try not to make a mistake, but if you make a mistake, if something doesn't work out, please come to me so we can figure out what we can do about it. Don't hide it. Don't put it under the carpet. Don't pretend that it doesn't exist. But come to me, open door policy, share with me what's happened, and we're going to sit down and we're going to examine it. And the second part of that is try to share with them how not to do it again. I said, look, you failed. It's not the end of the world. Come on, don't go out and hang yourself, and don't quit, and don't run off or anything like that. But we're going to discuss it. We're going to figure out what went wrong, and we're going to trust that it won't happen again. And so you give them the opportunity to fail, which means that you give them grace. You allow them to fail and not rake them over the coals or dismiss them, or they live in fear of you because they might fail. And then you share with them how they can Do it again, but do it with success. Number 4, when you make a mistake, admit it and ask for forgiveness. This is the humility part, where for us as a leader, and if we make a mistake, and all of our subordinates, all of our team knows about it, we need to humble ourselves and say, you know what? I made a wrong decision here, and I'm sorry that I did that, and this is the result of it, and so please forgive me for the wrong decision, and we'll try not to let it happen again. So when you do that, of course, see, you're exhibiting, you're modeling, you're being an example, which, by the way, you as a leader, you are a model, you're an example. As you are, so will they be. As you are, leader, so will be your team. And if you're greedy, if you're impatient, if you're quick to anger, if you're prideful, if you're not humble, if you don't seek advice of others, they're going to be the same way. And so they're watching you. They're watching how you respond. They're watching your attitude. They're watching your words. They're watching how you work with others. And so when you fail, when you make a mistake, when you do something that is wrong, offensive, and hurtful to someone else, even if it's words, especially if it's words, or neglecting them or overlooking them, that you need to apologize. Hey, look, I'm sorry. I was wrong. I said this, or I didn't say this. I did that. I didn't do that. And so please forgive me, and I'll try not to let it happen again. Number 5, when you need help as a senior leader or any level of leader, you ask others for their help. So when you need help, you don't just, I'm going to solve it myself, I'm too proud to humble myself and go ask somebody else. No. You humble yourself, and when you need help, you ask others. And when you're doing that, you're modeling to your team is that, look, we're not an island. We all can't do it by ourselves. We need one another. We need other people. We need people who have skills, knowledge, and experience that's greater than us. And so you're modeling it so that they will do the same. That's going to be a successful entity, an organization, business, school, or whatever it is, church, whatever it might be, a government institution, is that when we seek the advice of others, and we don't try to just think that we possess all knowledge and all experience, but we go to others and ask their advice. And then when your team sees you do that, they'll do the same. And that's a very healthy thing to do for your entity that will lead you to success. And number 6, when you succeed, give honor to your team, because you can't win without them. When you have a win, when you win the contract, when you accomplish the goal, whatever you do or whatever accolade that you personally receive, reflect it back to your team, because you can't do it. That's the whole point of what I'm trying to say in this mini-series. You and I cannot do it by ourselves. We need others to be able to lead us to success. And so as we invest in them, they're successful, we're going to be successful. And so make your team famous. Make your team famous, and when you win, when you have success, when you get the accolades, reflect it back to your team, because you can't do it by yourself. Thank you very much. Again, Charles McCall, Mentoring Growing Leaders. I'd like to encourage you to subscribe to this YouTube channel, like the video, click the bell so you get the next video that I put up. And if this has been helpful to you, whether it's the entire series or 1 or 2 of the lessons, please share it with someone else so it can benefit them as well. Again, I wish you great success in your leadership journey.